Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, March 26th, 2020. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. If it's Thursday, that can mean only one thing. Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, is here. Steve, how goes it?
Good morning, Daniel. Going great. The sun is shining. Sunlight is flowing into my office. I'm sending this down I-70 through Dayton to Columbus, and I'll try and keep the rain here. We're getting rain later. Hopefully I can kill it here in the 317 before it gets to the Buckeye State.
We get a remarkable number of complaints about the weather. I'm not quite sure why, but I'll move on. Speaking of sunny skies, Ohio State should be getting a commitment here soon from a guy I have developed a serious crush on, TreVeyon Henderson, the #1 running back in the country, out of the state of Virginia. There was some thought he was going to commit earlier in the week. That did not materialize. So there's a little bit of nerves on whether or not he's actually going to join the fold. Are those nerves justified?
No, I think that Ohio State remains in pole position, and TreVeyon's working his way through the process and has a lot of opportunities and has a lot of great programs recruiting him right now. But I think at this point I haven't heard anything to make me believe that the #1 running back in the top 247, all 2,424 rushing yards from last season, all 45 touchdowns, all 5 receiving scores, all 48 tackles and 3 interceptions, the Virginia Gatorade Player of the Year. I still think all that is coming to Ohio State at some point as they battle the likes of Oklahoma and Penn State and Virginia Tech and Georgia and several others.
And let's not get away from the greatness. Yes, Ezekiel Elliott was a tremendous player here and is arguably still the best running back on the earth. But when you talk about recruiting and you talk about what type of prospect they were, if they are able to add TreVeyon Henderson, he will be the most highly regarded running back they've added since probably Beanie Wells. All right, I have a list in front of me. It's got 14 names on it, and they're commitments to Ohio State. As I try and figure out who is going to be commits 15 through, say, 22, if we're guessing at the size of the class, because that's always a guess, and it's always fluid, here are the names I have on there. You choose to talk about who you think was most interesting. TreVeyon Henderson, JT Tumwilau, JC Latham, Emeka Egbuka, Tumisi Adelaide, Kamar Wilcoxon, Troy Stellato, and Marcus Bradley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names, which would take us to 22 from 14. Your thoughts on any of the guys there, that if anything has materialized or some other commitments has maybe changed where they're looking?
Well, the first 4 guys on the list, JT Tuimoloau, JC Latham, Emeka Egbuka, and TreVeyon, yeah, I think all 4 of those guys will be Buckeyes the way I see it right now. The 2 Washington State kids are the ones I don't feel as good about as the other 2, but I feel good, We'll see what happens with JT and Emeka moving forward, but I like Ohio State's position with them right now. And then I feel really good regarding the Buckeyes and JC Latham and then obviously TreVeyon Henderson. Marcus Bradley's another prospect that I have crystal ball to Ohio State right now. I've had it since the fall, top 247 defensive tackle from Quince Orchard. Ohio State, talking to sources around that recruitment recently, Ohio State is the one to beat, in my opinion. So if the Buckeyes are pushing, I think they'll add him alongside the likes of Mike Hall on the interior, the defensive line in this class. There's a reason why, Daniel, I have not crystal balled Kamar Wilcoxon to Ohio State. It's not because I don't think they lead. And typically I like to be that pulse guy. So if I think that there's a clear leader, I crystal ball them. But this is a recruitment that I trust zero. And I wouldn't be surprised if even if Kamar Wilcoxon has told people that he wants to go to Ohio State or that he is going to Ohio State. A long way to go until that would become official, and I just don't trust it right now.
We're going to take a quick break, come back, and talk about a certain receiver, and then maybe what to do to kill some time for y'all. All right, we are back. Troy Stellato is a name that has been percolating for quite some time. There was a stretch there where I think everyone thought he was going to come to Ohio State. It looks like an Ohio State-Clemson tussle. Do you think he still ranks out high enough for Ohio State to put a bunch of effort into getting him? Does taking a receiver have anything to do with Egbuka? Bring us the latest on the speedster from Florida.
Well, Ohio State's already invested a lot of time in recruiting Troy Stellato, Brian Hartline, Keenan Bailey. That's Keenan Bailey's high school. And they want him, and they would take both those receivers, Emeka Egbuka and Troy Stellato, from what I understand, and they've recruited both at the same caliber and would love to have both in the class as they continue to try and keep their receiver room extremely potent. I think that Clemson has the slight edge for Troy Stellato right now, and we'll see how the coronavirus impacts future visits. But I think right now Ohio State would need a visit to turn the tide. We've seen them turn the tide in recruitments before with a visit, such as every school has. And so, but yeah, he's a priority recruit from all I understand, and a guy that's coveted by many of the top programs from coast to coast. And yeah, Ohio State's recruiting at an unbelievable clip. But make no mistake, Troy Stellato would be one of the jewels of any recruiting class out there. And he's a guy that, again, Ohio State has invested a lot of time in.
That's going to be an interesting one. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I could see him there, but I just think Ohio State's wide receiver room is so young and so crowded right now.
They play 6, right?
They'll play as many as can get on the field, and, they blow people out half the time, so you get snaps. It's just the concept of entering into it, even if it is a rotation. I think some guys who are used to being the man aren't that interested in that. We'll see.
I got a nugget for you. I didn't even know I had the nugget, but I got a nugget. But speaking of Ohio State's receiver room, we talk about Chris Olave, of course, and we talk about Garrett Wilson, of course. But I still continue to hear, if my main man, Cameron Babb, who I loved covering out of high school, comes from a great family, was one of the more highly ranked. I think he ended up being ranked as our number 3 receiver overall. We could fact check that. But he was at one point our number 1 ranked receiver. Still has maybe the largest caps I've ever seen on a receiver recruit coming out of high school. He's been devastated by injury in high school and in college. But I've asked a couple people that spend time around the Woody, not now, but recently. No one's spending time around the Woody right now, obviously.
Right.
They still call Cam Babb a freak show, and everyone's rooting for it to come together. And I really hope that this is a young man that we see making an impact for Ohio State. From a talent standpoint, everybody still is high on Cam Babb around the building, or at least I shouldn't say everybody. The couple people I talked to, I've asked about, just because I have an interest in him, continue to say he's a freak show. And so hopefully number 7 will be out there making things happen for y'all this coming season and beyond.
The precedent has been set there. We all thought Johnny Dixon was gone 3 or 4 times because of his knees. He stuck it out and had an awesome senior season. We would love to see Babb do that, so we hope that manifests itself in a positive fashion. Speaking of which, have you seen Tiger King on Netflix?
I've only seen that a lot of people are watching it. I think that I do have interest in it, but I have a lot of shows that I'm still working my way through. I can't. I just keep telling my wife I can't start a new one. We're going to The Stranger next, so that Tiger show's got to get in line.
We appreciate Steve stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Take care, y'all. See you on the front row.